Resident Evil Requiem. So, when I was president of this church, like I stated, I just did a bunch of really stupid things. Like I said, anything from K-pop Demon Slayers to, I believe, even the anime Demon Slayer. Were all things I came up with. Like, an example of, like, Demon Slayers, it's all done by women, but, animated by women. But it basically wasted having the most powerful powers in the universe on stupid projects that I thought would be cool. And I remember talking to Capcom. I was high on drugs. And my brother had told me all Capcom does is remakes of old games. He told me, like, all they did was remake, like, Street Fighter Alpha, like, 6 times. And so I told them basically all they do is remake games, which is why probably for the past 4 or 5 years we've been getting nothing but Resident Evil remakes. Yeah. Whether or not people believe me about this is completely irrelevant to what I'm going to be talking about. But when I was president, I kept watching this guy. This guy who I think is actually me. And everybody he was so capable of greatness. But everybody was just working against him in every capacity. Yeah. And he needed to know, he didn't need to study fear, and I remember seeing this in the portal out there in the fucking Utah desert. He didn't need to study fear, he needed to study courage. He needed to learn how to be courageous. But he also needed to learn how to stop beating himself up. He was being crushed by the pressure and weight of his own psychology, punching himself in the face and then screaming other people were punching him in the face because they kept bringing up the subjects that made him punch himself in the face. It was as if he had a button on him that just made him punch himself in the face. It was amazing and hilarious to watch, and I used to make fun of the guy for being an idiot. I thought he was one of the stupidest people on the planet, but I saw his potential and all the good he could do in the world, and I wanted to help him. Now, during this time, I screamed and freaked out and told the wives to help him, and they asked me what was going on. I told them that this stupid fucking thing was in the way. They told me that stupid fucking thing was a church, and I said I want to kill everybody in it. They all need to kill themselves, and they all started screaming, no, the piece of shit church is the good thing when it's a piece of shit church. But, from this, vantage point, Resident Evil Requiem. I contacted the good people at Capcom, whoever the CEO was, and told him I wanted to do a Resident Evil game that went back to Raccoon City, and they basically told me they don't revisit old storyboards. Resident Evil Requiem takes place the same time Resident Evil The Village takes place. One of the design details I made up was I wanted old box body cars in the main city in the game because I thought they were cool. So if you're playing the game and you notice that for some reason Leon's driving a brand new Porsche, which was pretty funny because I actually told them to do a cross promotion with Porsche because I was high on drugs. But the box body cars that look like they're from the 60s that get into the car pile up when Leon's running through the city, that was all me. There was a lot of things I wanted in the game that weren't there. There was supposed to be a female fat zombie because I was high on out of my mind. There was supposed to be Mom Bod Claire that died from the Raccoon City syndrome. And just like I talked about with Dan Hartman in the Goddess arc, which was an arc I came up with where somebody does everything under their power, commits any atrocity, kills their wife, kills their kids, destroys everything just to get what they want, and what they want destroys them. Resident Evil Requiem is the exact same thing. It was supposed to be about, not Wesker, the Zeno guy, fighting his way, him and Gideon, fighting their way, all the way through all these events to get to Elpis, only for Elpis to kill them in some form. Which, curing them is the same thing. And I remember thinking it would be funny that this guy injects himself with Elpis, only to find out he doesn't have powers. And it is pretty funny, because that's exactly what happens. But one of the things that was supposed to be put into the game, because remember that guy I said he needed to learn about courage, he didn't need to learn about fear. Grace in it. Yeah, Grace Ashcroft was supposed to have a kind of upgrade system for the fear brain. Uh, Originally, the original design for her character, she's supposed to be extremely timid and scared, and her aiming was supposed to be total shit. Yeah. Her aiming was supposed to be complete garbage because she had shaky hands, and she was experiencing PTSD from a tragic event, an event like watching her mother get killed. I didn't specifically say to kill her mother in front of her, but I did say I wanted her traumatized, because I wanted this to touch on actual psychological traumas based from Raccoon City, because I pointed out that the heroes in Resident Evil games in general in media just don't make any sense because for some reason they seemingly don't get scared. It's not very realistic. But also, I wanted this game to show this guy who was in Florida that was supposed to save the world how to be courageous. So I told them to study the human brain and actually create an upgrade system that showed neural pathways developing in the human brain in order to develop courage. This isn't a joke. I wanted a super complex, implemented fear system in the game. Based anything from Grace being in the dark and being too afraid to do stupid shit. Because in video games you can just do stupid shit. But imagine a character that didn't do stupid shit because they were too scared. Okay? And I also wanted to point out, like, I wanted fear to also have kind of a power to it. Where, like, if you were running away from a zombie or something, Grace would be super great at navigating terrain and moving past it and all, like, just being able to book it away from zombies, but not very good at fighting them. I wanted her to have a buck fever moment where she'd be too terrified to shoot and kill a zombie. All these kind of things. Specifically, her job was to be kind of like Snake from Metal Gear and sneak around. I even suggested that she crawl through the air vents, to which the team said she's not crawling through air vents, so that kind of was fucking lame. The hemolytic injector was my idea originally. The zombies were supposed to inflate and explode because it's kind of a fetish thing. Kind of like Katana's Kiss in Mortal Kombat. And I wanted the zombies to be like George A. Romero zombies, which were called ghouls. They were never called zombies, they were referred to as ghouls. Because I think George A. Romero has the right idea about zombies, personally. And that is exactly what the Requiem zombies are. They're George A. Romero zombies. They even kill you in unique ways and say things related to their jobs. Lith, I can't prove any of this, but it doesn't matter. The Leon Kennedy playing as Grace was supposed to be extremely stressful. It was supposed to be, you're basically under constant anxiety. You're playing a defective character that's terrified to shoot anything. She was supposed to have some of the weakest weapons in the game, but she was supposed to be given a revolver, the Requiem. And I remember telling him, name the revolver whatever the name of the game is going to be. And I also told them to bring back classic Resident Evil weapons, because in the original games, the Resident Evil weapons were made up. They weren't real guns. It's only in the later games they came up with real guns to put in the games. I think I wanted Grace to have a Walter PP9 or something. And I talked about how Resident Evil 6 was terrible. Yeah. Yeah, I talked about how Resident Evil 6 was terrible. And they had a really big argument with me about what's terrible. And I talked about BBW Claire being married to Leon, and basically on her deathbed. And the crew was like, oh, we're going to do this with her, we're going to do that with her. And I told them I wanted them to explore more about the Alcina Wesker chick, and how she had the blonde-haired daughter that was wearing the white gowns. And they talked about the orphanage, and how the orphanage was normal, but, like, I didn't understand that they were experimenting on kids, but it was also normal. That made no sense to me. And I just ran over a bunch of plot holes in the lore that I knew from the game from watching my brother play it. Fun fact, the only Resident Evil game I had ever played was Resident Evil 4 on the GameCube. I actually never played any of the other ones outside of Resident Evil 5 with my brother, but the original ones, I watched him play through all of them. And I learned all my lore from those, and I started talking about I wanted him to explore the zombies, and the zombies were just as important to the storyboard as the main characters. I don't view storyboards and story arcs like normal human beings, I guess, because I believe everybody's just as important. One of the things I told Jim Carrey about playing Dr. Robotnik, which made him want to play Dr. Robotnik, was a good villain makes a great hero. Okay? The villain is just as much the star of the movie as the hero, because you can't just have them kill a subpar villain and then be like, well, I guess in the hard body action 80s films you could, but I mean, better movies, better storytelling, more complex brains, etc. But yeah, the there was a bunch of other things that I wanted to see in the game that they didn't put in. And it makes sense. Like, Zeno was supposed to have a whole bunch of... He was supposed to have a Frank Yeager killing scene. Like, the part where he shoots all those military guys was something I came up with. But the extreme gore and blood was also something. I said that the problem with Resident Evil, there wasn't enough blood. I told him to think of the characters like Quentin Tarantino thinks of characters. The Zeno guy was supposed to have a bunch of other really cool scenes. I told him anything you guys thought of giving Wesker and then didn't do with Wesker. And they told me they didn't think of Wesker anyways. They didn't want him. And I wanted them to touch more on the fascism, because I believe that Umbrella was a kind of code for corporate and kind of Christo-fascism. Maybe not Christo-fascism, but fascism. Because, yeah, and that's where Dr. Gideon comes in, because Dr. Gideon's entire philosophy is eugenic fascism. He believes that the viruses make the most powerful people, and if they poison everybody with the T virus and everybody turns into zombies, and some people turn into superpowered people, the superpowered people are the Ubermensch. They're the ones that need to be in charge. So people like himself, who have exposed himself to dangerous chemicals that are now killing him with the Raccoon City syndrome. Yeah, it's not the zombie virus in Resident Evil Requiem. It's not Elpis. It's Raccoon City syndrome. And that syndrome is now killing him. But still, he has all that great power, which makes him a superior being, which makes him the Ubermensch. Which is why when he finds out there's a cure for all the disease, Elpis, he calls it anarchy, because there's nobody in control. And if there's nobody in control, then obviously everything's anarchy. People can't just live together in peace. That's impossible. Which is a lie. It's a lie fascists tell people. The fear stuff was supposed to go not just into the character Grace. I don't think I ever called the character Grace. I didn't know what to fucking call her. But the fear brain was supposed to be way more intricate in the game. It was supposed to be way more complex. There was supposed to be like basically a kind of when you were aiming the gun, there was supposed to be a focus on your breathing button. There was supposed to be like a rapidly pressing A to push through fear button, which in real life, if you try to will yourself through fear, it doesn't work. So I guess it wouldn't work in the game either. There was supposed to be more hiding mechanics and stuff, and in contradictory to Grace, it was exactly what the Mims show. Leon was supposed to be a monster because he's a trained veteran. Zombies don't scare him. Giant monsters don't scare him. So he was just supposed to be the military beast with all the guns that just went in and wrecked ass and killed things and destroyed shit. And he was supposed to be the stress relief from when you were playing as Grace and you're just fucking getting wrecked because you're dealing with a character with tank controls. It's difficult to control. It's too timid to do any of the things you want her to do. And she develops as you develop the courage in her, in the courage system. It's kind of a good thing they scrapped that system because I'm pretty sure. Well, also, the other thing with Leon is he was actually supposed to get weaker as you progress through the game because he got sicker, so you would have a shorter and shorter health bar, increasing the difficulty of the game overall. That was at least the idea because I've always had the idea that difficulty in games has always been kind of stupid. Uh, because when you turn the difficulty up 90% of the time, it just turns bosses into bullet sponges without any actual noticeable increase in difficulty. Like, Ninja Gaiden kind of got the difficulty shit right because they made you weaker, but they also put in faster, tougher enemies. They and you unlock more enemies to fight in Ninja Gaiden if you increase the difficulty level, like the flaming ninjas and shit. And I remember going on a self-righteous rant about how these things should be implemented into video games when I was president. That difficulty isn't about being a bullet sponge, but the character should move faster, be more aggressive, and you should really feel like this is an actual change in difficulty. But I also wanted Leon's sickness to actually affect his legitimate real health bar. Like, he would get legitimately weaker as you played as him. Even though he's the heater, he goes in and he wrecks ass. So you would have all the guns and stuff, you just wouldn't, he'd be a glass cannon. By the end of the game, you'd be playing as a glass cannon that's barely trying to survive. The part with Zeno is definitely my favorite, because when I was president, I was like, yeah, he gets the Elpis virus. No, I didn't call it Elpis, but I told him I wanted it based off of Greek myths. That's what I told him. It's like he injects himself with it, and then fucking he loses his power, like a loser. And it's actually loosely based off of a really stupid comic I had in my mind when I was growing up, where this dude that's constantly chasing power basically kills people. He does all this horrible shit to finally get power. And when he gets it, it basically gives him cancer. He becomes really ill and dies, believing that he had power to begin with, and that's it's kind of a sick joke in my comics when I was growing up. So it makes sense that's what happened to Zeno. Zeno was supposed to actually have a lot more shit to do in the game that I cooked up. Like, he was supposed to have a Frank Yeager scene where he murdered a whole bunch of people. Zombie mind control. That was supposed to be one of his things. He was supposed to have like a headband that would let him control zombies and tell them what to do. And there were supposed to be like scenes where you actually played as a zombie trying to kill like the protagonist and attack soldiers. It was just really convoluted, stupid ideas that I thought would be cool, but they were really stupid. I had an entire thing. I almost wanted files on every unique zombie in the game. And I remembered the team was just like, this is a fucking headache. And my whole thing was like, Resident Evil's cool, but the original zombies in the game, they just stood there. They just stood there doing nothing. And I was like, they should be doing stuff. They're people. And that's where George A. Romero gets it right. Like, what would you do if you were a zombie? Your brain would be going off of old data sheets. It would be doing whatever you normally would be doing. If all you did was beat off, you'd be a zombie in your room beating off. Like, that makes sense to me, and yeah, I imposed my will onto them, and obviously they didn't follow everything I wanted them to do, which is probably for the best. They did the same thing in the village. The merchant was supposed to be an obese woman, yeah, it's very bizarre. There were other projects and shit. I remember instructing a whole bunch of movies to be made. I don't think any of the movies I instructed them to make are made, but that's probably for the best, honestly. It's probably for the best. Because I simply don't know anything about storyboarding. And just because I have ideas doesn't mean they're good ideas. And as I get along in the world, I realized that's important. And yeah, the whole fear system in Requiem was to teach this stupid fucking loser in Florida about courage. And it was me. It was me they were supposed to be teaching about courage. It's kind of funny. Imagine somebody showing a video of yourself, like your future self, doing stupid shit and doing the wrong thing. And then you're like, man, that guy's an idiot. Yeah, I think that's funny.